I'm a big fan of the retro aesthetic. Video games, especially those in the independent developer realm, sometimes go for that kind of retro minimalistic look. Independent games like Fez and Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery come to mind. They don't go for that super detailed look, and it works for their games in a beautiful, eye-catching way. I like the flat minimalistic look, but sometimes I feel myself craving a bit more of a detailed look, you know? And thankfully that craving has been satisfied in one over-the-top game from the indie realm.
Unreachable, now I'm on the other side, and I just realized I'm on my own number 9, and I'm never coming down.
Ultionus, A Tale of Petty Revenge, comes from the mind of Andrew Bado, a video game industry pixel artist veteran, and from what I gather, is a side project of his main focus, a Kickstarter.com funded game called Legend of Iya. Ultionus is currently available on Steam and other digital outlets for your computer, as well as for the Ouya, which is the version I picked up and is shown here. Now, you probably don't need me to tell you how gorgeous this game looks. With an aesthetic appeal that's right out of the mid-90s, Ultionus shoves bright colors and details down your retinas in one of the most visually appealing games with an old-school look I have ever seen. Serena S, a galactic hero, has apparently just saved the universe, and like any of us, posts her exploits to social media. The Space Prince, in an attempt to troll her, leaves a comment that upsets Serena, and she takes off to the prince's planet in order to get her revenge. Along with her sidekick Balzac, she's shot down and has to make her way to the prince's castle while slaughtering numerous enemies and huge bosses in a 7-stage romp for petty revenge. That's it. That's the story. And you know what? I don't even care if it's goofy as hell, because the game looks, plays, and is presented as a sort of throwback to a time where games with super goofy concepts, rocking stylish tunes, and over-the-top character designs were commonplace. But more on that later. The majority of gameplay in Ultionus takes place in a side-scrolling shooting and platforming environment. Equipped with a ray gun, Serena blasts her way through enemies, and their destruction nets points. She doesn't run, and she can't shoot directly above her, a complaint many have with the game. However, the game is largely designed around those so-called limitations. There are a few instances where it would be nice to shoot directly overhead, but it's not something that feels necessary all the time. She can shoot at an angle, thankfully, and in the early parts of the game, jumping and shooting allows you to pop off a few extra shots quickly. Getting through the levels is more about being precise with your shots and jumps rather than expecting to treat the game like Mega Man or Contra, where you can just blast your way through a lot of your obstacles. Levels in Ultionus are not designed in a super linear fashion, allowing for a great deal of exploration. From the moment your ship crashes, Serena and Balzac travel left instead of right, and many sections of the game have you navigating corridors in both directions. Actually, speaking of that, exploring every inch of the level is necessary, as you'll want to rescue your companion Balzac from the Space Prince's goons. You'll also find coins that unlock gates in each stage, typically opening a shortcut of sorts for each level, and the way to a shop where you can spend your points on weapon or defensive upgrades. The weapons seem to me where your cash is best spent, since they can increase your firing rate, give you a triple shot, etc., but the defensive items each allow you to take an extra hit per item in your inventory, which is also actually pretty useful. The walk and shoot gameplay is broken up by a few side-scrolling shmup levels as well, such as the introductory stage where you pilot Serena's ship in her initial assault on the Space Prince's planet, and a segment where you ride a dinosaur in a more twitchy reflex part of the game. Unlocking the true end of the game also grants you an extra stage full of shmup action, so you have a handful of levels where the pace of things kicks up a few notches, and this breaks up the gameplay rather nicely. I may really like games like this, but that doesn't mean I'm very good at them, as the boss battles quickly taught me. They're large and amazingly well detailed and tough if you don't pick up on their pattern quickly. From giant plants and crustaceans to the prince's own giant mech, bosses serve as a great way to cap off each of the game's stages. Just like the game's normal enemies, they're beautifully animated and actually kind of feel alive with a lot of character and charm put into their design. This giant worm actually looks disgusting, and I love that. The bosses provide the perfect level of challenge to make you appreciate the fact that the game starts you off with 10 lives and provides players with an easy mode with infinite lives as well. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with Ultionus. While some may pan the game's characters overtly sexual and outlandish, I feel Serena's design goes hand in hand with the gameplay and harkens back to a time when a lot of female characters were a little over the top. Characters like this are going to get panned for being what they are. Yeah, Serena's breasts are a focus of the opening cutscene, and being told to be in the kitchen is the sole comment that gets her to attack a planet's leader, with her goal being to deliver a solid galactic punt to his groin. But everything about that, and everything about this game, feels very tongue-in-cheek. Now, the game over screen, which is supposed to be awkward and embarrassing for the character, is a little forward. But I don't think Serena's overall design or character is meant to be a commentary on anything. I just think it's meant to be goofy, over the top, and downright silly. But that's just how I felt, and people with other perspectives will have a different view on something like this, and I would love to hear those thoughts. Mr. Bado's clearly drawn some inspiration for this side project of his from games like Jill of the Jungle with its also slightly over-the-top heroine, and other games with a large heads-up display. Now, by the creator's own admission as well, Ultionus is mostly inspired by the game Game Over 2, released on computers like the Amstrad in 1987. Apparently, when the original game Phantus was localized in some territories, the story was changed a little to involve a Commander Serena needing rescued by the player character. But there's also several gameplay and presentation similarities between it and Ultionus that you can see here. While Mr. Bado admits to the game's inspiration to come heavily from Game Over 2, these similarities are very striking. But honestly, it's not something that really bothers me or anything. Ultionus is a blast to play, and the game offers enough of its own elements like gorgeous artwork, fun gameplay, and amazing music to set it apart. If you're even remotely interested in these types of games, you can try a demo of Ultionus on platforms like Steam, or if you're like me and you want something good for your Ouya, you can grab it there. I am really looking forward to see what Andrew Bado's more involved project, Legend of Iya, will be like once it's released. And if you've been following that project and haven't checked out Ultionus, I highly recommend you do so.